I still remember the day where, we were on Zoom, Cyrus got disconnected and Silvery and I had the most awkward conversation for 5 minutes where we didn't know what to say to each other.
And he hadn't got his questions ready or anything for the AMAs. Yeah, that was a bad 5 minutes. Yeah. Okay, we're here, special edition. Two sports journalists, the best in India as far as I know. Nishad Pai with a Vaidya sometimes not. I think that's an Aadhaar card issue to avoid detection. And forgot to put on his headphones.
Yes.
Now fly the plane, Nishad.
No, you said journalist for a moment. So I was like, whoa, am I really a journalist?
No, but you're hardcore, in your heart of hearts, aren't you a journalist? Aren't you a writer first?
Writer, speaker. I mean, I like to talk as much as you like to talk.
I heard. Yeah. I would prefer writing to speaking because then I don't have to leave the house. Although we online podcast. So
but will you be healthy enough? Not talking.
I don't know, but I'll be lonely. So you're right. I will have to come out just to say hi to a vendor. Zomato, thank you. By the way, they may be a sponsor.
That's why. That brings me. I remember I was in quarantine once because ahead of the IPL, and it was a long quarantine. It was the first time, and there was no human interaction. And one of the doctors called up to check with me, and I spoke to him for 25 minutes.
Like this, after the health thing, you went into other things like, by the way, what did you think of Real Madrid last night?
Why not? We just spoke about everything in the world. That's what happens, to people like us.
It's not a joke. The lonely people, when you get lonely and old, sometimes any vendor coming in is like a source of conversation for some time. The dhobis all leave the clothes far away. They no, Mrs. Sharma bahut baat karti hai. I don't want to go there. Yeah, it's good. It's happening soon, Nishad. You're young. It's happened to me first. I'll tell you all about it. But this is a sports special. I've got you here because you're all about the sports. We would have tried to get Kunal Vijayekar, Naveen,
Silvery, who I ran into at the Goa airport, by the way, a couple of weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
What was he arrested?
No, he wasn't.
Okay, should be. He's always carrying things he shouldn't be carrying. Won't get into that. So let's look at the year as quickly as we can. In about half an hour, we want to just quickly look at the whole year in sports. So I'll put you under pressure. January, what happened?
January. I remember I was commentating on South Africa versus India, a series that I think India should have won, but didn't.
And it didn't win that time, but then again, South African batting is still not looking that great. So maybe next time.
Yeah, they aren't looking that great. But
they looked that great that time.
Yeah.
Their batsmen all performed.
Yeah, and those pitches were difficult. And they have this new guy, Keegan Peterson, who I think is really a good batter. And the captain just refuses to get out. So I think
in South Africa right now, while we record this, in Australia, they've had a horror. In the first test match, which by the way ended in 2 days under 3 sessions, in 1 day and 2 sessions.
Oh yeah, and that green pitch. I mean, that debate will rage on, right? I mean, if it happens in India with the turning tracks.
So the funny thing is that again we jumped from January straight to December, which only we can do. But the Rawalpindi wicket, where everybody's got 8,000 runs, every English batsman's got a double century, and then they all went on to say that what a terrible wicket because the bowlers didn't have a chance. Sporting declaration, so Ben Stokes was able to manufacture a victory, but that's besides the situation. The pitch was ridiculous. So they were all criticizing subcontinental wickets like Pindi. But what about this wicket? This wicket, 4 of the best batsmen in the world batting at various times, all of them, really struggling. Travis Head, of course, got a few runs in the end, but having said that, 5 sessions of cricket for a test match. It's like a T20. It's ridiculous.
It is, and I mean, you're not giving the game a fair chance to at least last until, say, 4th day. And I think that is what was worrying at the Gabba. But yeah, I mean, if it happens on a turning track, like
that's what I'm saying. It's the same thing. Now we had 2-day tests in Chennai, etc., and people went after India. They went after Pakistan recently as well for a flat wicket. So I'm just saying that this whole sporting wicket thing is very difficult to please. Where are you going to get these sporting wickets from on a regular basis? The only place where it seems to happen is England, where honestly there seems to be something in it for the bowlers all the time, and if you bat well, you make runs.
Yeah, and that's exactly what English. We have seen those conditions where maybe first 2 days it's a little tricky, and then by the time you get to the 5th day, it's all to play for. But we've also seen on some.
Now that you bring that up, I'm a little worried about this 5th day player. The 5th day crumbling wicket, except perhaps in India where it actually keeps spinning more and more. It doesn't seem to be happening anymore. Watching Pakistan, I'm not seeing any great change in wickets on day 5.
Oh, there wasn't, and because I think in the first test match, we all felt that Pakistan had a chance to chase it down.
They almost did.
And it was just the pressure.
Both the margins were 80 odd runs and 20 odd runs the first 2 test matches. So they were close encounters in terms of chasing.
Oh, they were absolutely close, and a lot of credit has to go to the way England are playing Test cricket, and that was one of the highlights for Test cricket this year.
Yeah.
The way
It changed the game.
They changed the game.
They're batting 6 runs in over, and you know that all their 1 to 6 have all made runs. So suddenly, their best batsman this season is who? An injured batsman by the name of Johnny Bairstow.
Yeah.
So Johnny Bairstow comes back in. They're going to have a huge problem now. You can't touch Johnny Bairstow. He's had a Bradman-like performance.
You can't touch Harry Brook because he's been fantastic.
300s. So who do you touch?
Exactly.
Ollie Pope has just started performing. Both the openers have got hundreds and made runs. And Joe Root is untouchable. So who? See how interested we are in English cricket. No, Indian cricket के बारे में कुछ जानकारी नहीं है. I don't know these guys.
No, but coming back, we all, when we look back at these moments, but I think right now the cherry on the cake has been what happened, towards the end, and that was Lionel Messi finally getting the World Cup and the celebrations. And I think
I agree with Nishad saying we didn't win as much as we should have in cricket this year. There are a couple of big tournaments didn't go our way, including the World Test Championship in June, but not World Test Championship, the extra Test match against England, so beating England in England, and then again not winning the T20 World Cup, where we really had a chance with the kind of team we had. So we'll go to football. Where there's no dog in the race.
It's completely like a dream sequence, and I think exactly the
parallels with Sachin 2011.
Yes, I was coming to that. Parallels with Sachin in 2011, and the way Messi got that final glory. But I felt for a moment it was really like an Akshay Kumar biopic which could be in the making, because it went up to the penalties. They had equalized because 2-0. You thought there's no chance France is
if
going
you
to
look
come
at it
back.
as a scriptwriter, I'm giving you, okay, we take out Ronaldo from the 4 big guns. Okay, you got Neymar, Ronaldo, Messi. These are the legends of their time.
Yes.
And Mbappe. And so you've got 2 of them in the final, and you got them against each other. It becomes a dog fight, and then it's almost like the 2 artists at their throats. 2 goals from this guy, 3 goals from the other guy. They're all over the other team's defense. So in a sense, you can't. Can you ask for more?
No, not at all. I think this World Cup was fabulous in that sense, with all certainly those upsets, and ultimately even Argentina starting off with a defeat to Saudi Arabia.
So that's what I've been saying from the beginning. No one's picking that up, Nishad. Is it fair to say that Saudi Arabia is the best team in the world? Because if you beat the team that wins the World Cup by transitional property, you are the best team in the world.
At that rate, then even Ireland are the T20 world champions.
For beating England.
For beating England.
Yes, I agree with you. I'm totally on. So let's show respect where respect is due. By the way, they got Maybachs and all, no? When they went back, the Saudi players.
Which they have denied apparently, but yeah, who knows?
Apparently they've all got. They may have been taken after the second and third game. They were taken back. That's why.
But you asked.
Replaced with Honda.
But I was at your play and you asked someone name 3 Saudi Arabia
players. He was a football fan.
And he said, "What? There must be an Ahmed."
Yeah. Let's not go into that space. But it was unnecessary. But my point is, you're a football fan. It's a little unfair. It's like a caste system in football. Everybody knows the glamour teams. Everybody knows the big names. Okay, but when it comes to the smaller teams, I mean, Japan had an outstanding tournament in a sense. Really should have qualified. All said and done. Korea were not bad. They came to the party. Iran in moments were there, no doubt about it. And Saudi Arabia upsetting Argentina right at the top. So I was really hoping for the dark horse. Again, no Indian team in the World Cup, not for the next 40 to 50 years. Possible. Well, 107. FIFA ranking 107 today.
Well, North Korea qualified from 105. So.
But North Korea might have cheated. Not a very ethical country from what I gather. Yeah.
But it's like with Saudi Arabia, the way they came. But the story was, of course, Morocco. Yeah. I think, getting the better of Belgium, Spain, and then also Portugal. Yeah. Which hurt, me, because I obviously support Portugal. And, but they
you
were
don't know this, Nishad is Portuguese. He's Goan by descent. So it's a long political issue here. I won't get into it because it's a sports show, not political show. But on another show, we'll discuss this with him. How dare you? And which flag is in your room? Gujarat.
But one of the highlights, obviously, of the year was, Gujarat winning the IPL, which I was a part of, and it was indeed an honor. And it's something that really, it just transpired. It happened.
It's tough for you to talk about it, obviously, because you were part of the team and management. But against the run of play, 2 new teams, they were almost like this is their first try, so this is like net practice. You don't take them seriously when you have Chennai's record and Mumbai's record, and Hyderabad's always there or thereabouts. Bangalore's underperformed. You expect them to suddenly come up and win the title. Rajasthan Royals in the background, and then suddenly these guys come, and from start to finish they dominated the IPL, which is very rare. Start to finish, and Hardik Pandya was a breath of fresh air. No one thought of him as a leader, but absolute old-fashioned Imran Khan-esque leader. What you see is what you get: chest out, pointing fingers at everyone, screaming and shouting when it's necessary. So so slightly slightly old world charm about Hardik Pandya.
And what, coming into this, like from our perspective, it was more the excitement of starting a new journey, and there were no expectations. And it has become a ghisapita line, right? Don't have expectations, but one after the other, things just fell into place, and the team started winning. That's when the hopes started coming up, and when the hopes start coming up, that's when it can be a little dangerous. But thankfully, it finished off well.
You reinvented a South African middle order batsman who was dead and buried. Okay, you brought him back to life to begin with. You brought Hardik Pandya back to life because you're wondering where he was floating in the Indian, sort of culture. Do we have him as a white ball specialist? Does he only play T20? Is he only a batsman? Is he just a finisher? All that's gone out of the window because this is a guy who could be. He should be looking at Ben Stokes and saying, I have to be that, no less.
But you look at it from the Indian team perspective as well. The way he came back into the Indian team, I think that was really phenomenal because we are actually seeing a coming of age of him because he. I've been fortunate to know him for many years since.
Mera dost bhi hai. I call up the Hardik when I feel like, yaar.
He's someone who genuinely...
He's ignoring me.
he's someone who genuinely cares for people, and I think that really helped him here. And, when he came into the Indian team and the way he started playing, picking his opportunities to score runs and, converting, making
playing
it
the game
count.
rather than playing his game.
Yeah, playing the game. I think... that maturity has been what has been.
But
really
see, the captaincy really helps some people because suddenly you start thinking beyond yourself in a sense, and then you start seeing the game from a different perspective. I'm just saying there's a possibility. So some people it doesn't work, but some people, both of them didn't have a great record as a captain. Tendulkar didn't have a great record as a captain. There are many greats who perhaps underperformed as captains, but then there are those who actually go up or revive their career. In the case of Hardik Pandya, it looks like he's suddenly found a second wind. Like he's like a new avatar almost.
And I think that's exactly what happened to someone like an MS as well, because you remember MS came on board. He had never captained any team at any level. Long hair, always going for the big hits. But then when he got captaincy, he he became a better finisher. He started winning India more games. And I think
I'm trying to remember the early MSD was hitting the ball into the long on and long off immediately. Right? What we saw in the second half of his career, where this cunning man would take the singles and suddenly be behind runner ball and suddenly be well ahead. It was always the same style.
Yeah, and if we are talking about leadership in 2022 itself, we have seen in the cricket world leadership change, and
we've seen to Bharat Jodo Yatra. Could tell me about that, because that's also sports and leadership.
Yeah, sports and leadership. Yeah. But England changed Test captaincy. Owen Morgan retired. From the one day and the T20 setup.
Abysmal record they had under Joe Root. Sadly, especially in the year he batted like Bradman, but they 16 or 17 Test matches out of 18 or 19 lost. It was just ridiculous, a record. And then overnight, this guy comes in. You want to give the coach his credit as well, that's fine, but I think it's Ben Stokes more than anything else. Just aggressive from start to finish, and 8 out of 9 tests he's won. 9 out of 10. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, and the manner in which they've won the game. Like, I was looking at a stat the other day where last year when England played New Zealand at Lord's and they were chasing 270, 280 in 70 odd overs, and they called it off at 170 for 3. Today, this team will go for it and possibly get it in 50 overs.
They chased 2 test matches. They chased down the runs in England against the run-of player also. Again, Besso reinvented himself under this guy. I don't know. They're changing Test cricket. We better be careful. Test cricket became like T20 cricket. This batting at such a breakneck speed is so aggressive from start to finish. They're not stopping. Reminded me of Sri Lanka 1996, where once you get Jayasuriya out and you get Kalu out, then suddenly Arjuna comes in, Arvinda comes in, and they're going faster and faster. There's no stop.
Don't remind us of the 96 World Cup semi-final.
Do you remember? You, me and Vinod.
खूब जमेगा रंग जंगल बैठेंगे.
That's so sad. Coming back to football, which I know is just recent, but there's some sad memories also. Every World Cup, cricket or football, it's the end of some careers.
Yes.
Both managers, coaches, as well as legends. What are your thoughts about the big two? One, Messi saying he'll reinvent himself and sort of come back. Is that really possible now? Will he continue playing, or is that just emotional talk?
Maybe a bit of emotional talk, and I don't see him play the next World Cup. Maybe he'll
come
just...
on, you're almost 40.
Yeah, he's just going to play maybe a year or two, maybe the next Copa America at max, and then possibly call it off. But you look at some of the others, some managers who had to quit. Like I think Belgian manager had to go. After the golden generation that they had, and this time
they were hyped. They were hyped for the last 6-7 years. Always the team or there or thereabouts. But
and 18 they had a chance. They stumbled in the semis. They should have done that there. But obviously Fernando Santos going off in Portugal, Luis Enrique in Spain.
So Louis van Gaal.
It's
Hall, is it?
Yeah, it's apparently
what a show
Louis
off.
And
the G is H.
So
I'll say you Handu when somebody irritates me there.
You can say that.
I like that hurl.
But when also you look at, say, like a Sergio Busquets, the last of the 2010 Spanish generation, calling it a day as well. It is sad, isn't it, in World Cups, and we see it across sports, and even managers.
What do you take on Harry Kane missing that penalty?
Happens. I think that happens. It's happened to Beckham as well in 2004, I think, in the Euros. So sometimes
Messi missed a penalty early on as well. It's not like, the greatest of the great. But it's just the sad part is this is your moment, and you are Harry Kane, one of the most prolific players of his generation, perhaps underused, if anything. And at the end of the day, these are the moments that define your career. So whether you become Pele or Maradona or whether you don't, it's sort of, these moments.
Like, people still talk about Roberto Baggio's missed penalty in 94.
Oh my God, I remember
what a player. What a player.
He was dominant right in that match as well. And then how did he...
And I've seen more of that penalty when you look back at Roberto Baggio rather than his other stuff.
It's like a Chetan Sharma, Javed Miandad 6 moment, It's just, the guy's done so much, but that's all you remember.
Yeah, he won tests in England. He got the hat-trick. He got 100.
14 wickets in the 86 series.
Yeah.
Nobody remembers 86. We beat them fair and square.
And that was months after this. A few months after this. But Cyrus, looking back at even football, the way Real Madrid won the Champions League under Ancelotti, just, resurrecting themselves out of nowhere.
I was in Spain just post that.
Yeah, with Kunal Vijaygar.
But let's not mention Kunal and sports. It's just wrong. But my son, we went to both Atletico and Real Madrid, and the stadium had changed recently. So one was far away, where they were both in the city, but one was far away. We went to both, and we sat around. I was just watching. My son was just, it was like, for him, it was like manna from heaven, just standing around looking at the shirts and all that, because he wanted to buy things, and they were so expensive, man. Nishad, please give me is there an opportunity in the IPL to work in Gujarat, Rajasthan, those states? I'll be very happy.
But you still managed to take your family to a holiday in Spain along with Kunal, so I should be taking well tips from you.
Spanish government had invited us.
For what? Food awareness or just the week that was?
No, just ethnicity.
Okay.
By the way, I didn't see too many Indians in Spain. I was quite disappointed. What happened to all our chess players? I thought Vishy Anand and all settled there in Linares.
Isn't he back?
No, he's back now.
Yeah.
Because he was stuck in Germany or Sweden or something during the pandemic, so he's now home. He needs a break.
But Real Madrid there in the Champions League, I think, especially I'm a Manchester City supporter, for which I get a lot of flack. But the way they beat Manchester City, in the dying minutes, and then it just signified what Carlo Ancelotti and the Real Madrid machinery had become in that Champions League. So I think, of course, that was one of the highlights. And the other big highlight I would tell you, which I hope stays, even through next year, is that we could move past COVID in sport, and we could get away from the bubbles and everything, which we hope stays the same considering.
Well, the Asian Games are in China, so you'll go back there. Other than that, next year. But other than that, it should be okay, I think. Most of the other countries have had enough. Djokovic is welcome in Australia.
Yeah,
that's huge. The year began with all that controversy. Do you remember that? I was very appalled. I was like, they let him in and then they say go. That's not right.
And Nadal winning and going past Federer.
Wow.
I never thought...
And Federer retiring.
Yeah. And I never thought it... And them crying together when...
Yeah, when he reached 20, you never thought of it. But when you think of it, these two being younger, as long as the injuries don't come in the way and nobody bans somebody like Djokovic, Djokovic should get another 2 at least. Don't you think?
Yeah, he can. he can get another 2. I think he's fit enough. He's got the drive. But what did you make of that picture of Nadal and Federer crying and sobbing at his farewell game?
I don't know, because Andrew Tate, my leader, tells me that you have to be more masculine and be more male-like, and so I was a little disappointed. I mean, they're two best players of their generation and they're behaving little sissies. But no, I'm kidding. Of course, it's just a beautiful moment in sport, yeah. I mean, this guy, he's one of the greatest sportsmen the world has ever seen. Both of them are, but Federer is. And he's also one of the nicest guys. That's so rare, right? You can search as much as you want. Not a bad word about this guy. You know, he's from start to finish, except when he was 8 or 9, when he was just a kid and he was misbehaving on a court and was fired by somebody. That's about it. They have to go back there. Because there's not a bad word about this guy. How can you be that great and not have any controversy in your entire career? That's something, you know.
Yeah, incredibly well managed. I think personally as well, because
he's also a nice guy. Give some credence to that, man.
Yeah,
I think there are some nice guys left.
Good family support, I would say, and now he's. Especially when he retired, the fact that your own rival, your biggest rival, is also crying.
Both were there. And the other one was standing courtside.
Yeah, but the biggest rival crying. That is a certificate of.
No, because that's also because people were hinting, "Tera time bhi aa gaya." I think that was also a problem. He was like, how Indians are. We're like, hey, Nadal, chal, tu ja abhi, teri bari.
But from an Indian perspective, when we look at other sport, now we've got the Hockey World Cup coming up. Indian hockey team preparing.
In Jan, we've got
and from the women's team recently had a big success, so we hope they continue to grow.
They won the Six Nation.
Yes, they won that.
Nobody even, because it clashed with the World Cup and other things, nobody mentioned it, but really, they need a little more hype, a hockey team. The World Cup's not got enough hype. If you're in Orissa, that area definitely, because the Patnaiks and gang are really doing what they can, but rest of India, I don't feel the hype is enough ever for IHL or whatever it's called, or any big hockey tournament. Definitely Olympics, definitely a World Cup. I mean, they should get more.
And I think, yes, what's happening in Orissa is good in that sense that, you're trying to support the sport. But for hockey to get popular, it needs to be played in Mumbai, Delhi, and all the other cities that has got... No, because, so many times... Cyrus, you're right there.
But we're not getting people to watch hockey matches. See, football, you still get people to come and watch in India, in cricket crazy India. But field hockey, like from my growing up in the 80s and all that, I've seen the change. When my parents were young, hockey matches, Aga Khan and all that, in our part of town, South Bombay, full.
Yeah, it's
10,
at the
50,000
BHA,
people.
right?
Yeah, full. First Bombay Gym, then at the Cooperage, full. At BHL, completely packed. You couldn't get a seat. People would come to watch. Pay money if they have to. Whatever. Now what?
Yeah. And in fact, if you actually go to Khalsa College, I had worked with them for some time on
so
one
they
of
have
their
some
courses.
hockey tradition left.
Yes, and the head of sport there was the youngest member of the 75 World Cup winning team, Mr. Onkar Singh. And he was sitting in his office, and the window was open, and I could look at the playground outside.
Gold medal.
And in the World Cup.
World Cup medal in the background.
Yeah. He pointed at the ground, and it was like, it was a field, and he said, "Do you know that the 82 World Cup matches were played here?" And you look at it and you don't think it's a World Cup venue.
Yeah,
it's in the college.
I've shot an ad in Khalsa College with Malaika for some toffee which I can't remember. Laila Majnu ad. Check it out. We were both very young. I was younger. No, she's younger. Who knows? I didn't see the Aadhaar card. There's no Aadhaar card. Nobody knows all that. Yeah, so I'm a big fan of hockey. It's such a fast game. It's great to watch. For some reason, it's just lost its luster. It has to be repackaged and redone, and people like you to come and help with that, Nishad.
And I think, if you ask me, I enjoy watching hockey more because I find it faster.
It's a super game to watch live.
Yeah, it's faster. Yeah. It's got more play, and you go into the main D. Yeah. You can hit the defender's foot and then immediately get a penalty corner.
It's a very painful game for those who've never played field hockey, and people think field hockey is not like ice hockey. Painful.
Yeah, it is like one of my colleagues, he played hockey at a national level, was a goalkeeper, and he used to not have, and back in the day, he's elder to me, of course, but he didn't have much of padding and everything. So he's told me all sorts of horror injuries that, he used to get. So, it can be a very, very hard and difficult game. So, but moving ahead with the Indian stuff, I think Neeraj Chopra growing from strength to strength.
We forgot about Neeraj Chopra.
How can we forget? Yeah.
I want to wind up the episode. We would have left him out. People would have been absolutely crucified. Yeah. Thank you.
Neeraj Chopra.
Thank you. Wow.
I think, growing
most
from strength to...
Most searched for athlete in the world.
Yes.
According to the internet. This is true. Because all the Chinese guys are searching. Ye kahan se aa gaya?
Out of syllabus, I guess.
Yeah.
But... him growing from strength to strength, because I read Abhinav Bindra's book, and he spoke about, there's one thing where you're chasing the Olympic medal, and that's what Abhinav Bindra's journey was about, going after the gold medal, and he got there. And once he got there, it was like, what after that?
Damn tough to beat that. Yeah.
He said coming to terms with that took him time. And then he found his happiness. He found his new approach to life.
But there will be a lot of people who win a gold medal in the Olympics. You're not going to win it again, most likely. And what else can you... Nothing can match it. What can match it? It's damn tough.
And to think Phelps did it so many times.
But that's a
different
exception.
sport. Yeah.
No, I mean, let's not even get into him.
Yeah.
Swimming has thrown up Mark Spitz and a couple of others like that. But I'm just trying to think of the single gold medal winner who has one generation of greatness. And then, to come back after 4 years, the competition and the kind of level of sport, it's difficult.
Yeah, it is difficult. But Neeraj Chopra is just seeming to actually raise the bar and continues to train, continues to... do well in all these athletic meets and obviously trying to cross the 90-meter barrier. So I think, kudos to him. And
to think it was just self-defense in the beginning because he lives in Gurgaon. He had to carry a weapon. So he was just carrying the javelin in case people irritated him. Just from there it started.
Hey, you're not going to do the accent as we always do whenever we mention Delhi or Gurgaon.
Of course.
Of course.
Javelin.
Yeah, javelin.
Where did these words come from anyway? What was the Indian word for? There was an Indian word for a spear. Bhala.
Yes.
Like close to Balla.
Yeah, I used to not watch Mahabharata or what?
No, I'm trying to remember. I used to watch the sound of mostly, because the sound balancing was very bad, in the old Doordarshan TVs. You don't remember? Suddenly there would be an explosion and all your ears would go.
Yeah, it was like... but...
And Russell Pocotti won the Oscar. Coming from that stable.
but Cyrus, then it was obviously Neeraj Chopra doing well. There were a couple of other...
He had the Worlds after that. They had the Worlds, so there was a big tournament, right, where he didn't win.
But he got silver.
Silver or third,
So I think also him going up again...
Just to point again that it's a very packed field there. It's not like he's dominant, but he's not alone. There were 3-4 names. Including a West Indian guy of West Indian descent who I was trying to follow his name. I forget now.
So those, I think even you look at some of the other sports that, India is trying to move ahead. I think, there is possibly a talent line which can do well. I think Manika Batra had a good tournament.
But not a good Olympics.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. She got a lot of hype before that.
Yes.
And unfortunately didn't. Table tennis champion, in case you don't know. Look at my arrogance. I'm presuming Kunal's watching.
Or Silvery.
Yeah. Silvery doesn't watch anything. He has no interest in IVM products. He's one of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing we are here because I still remember the day where, we were on Zoom, Cyrus got disconnected and Silvery and I had the most awkward conversation for 5 minutes where we didn't know what to say to each other.
And he hadn't got his questions ready or anything for the AMAs. Yeah, that was a bad 5 minutes. Oops, that's Dilip Doshi batting at 11. I can feel that.
Or Courtney Walsh.
I miss those guys. Yes, too many of these. England team has no tail. Even Leach can bat. Remember they chased it in Headingley in the Ashes. So okay. As we wind up, what's there to look forward to? Let's quickly look at what we've. For me, the big one. I know you're an IPL crazy guy and all that, but for me, the big one is India Australia in March. That's going to be huge for me. I can't wait.
The Border Gavaskar Trophy. I think coming back to India after 5 years. 2017 was when India played, and I think Steven Smith was phenomenal in that Pune test on that ranked turnover. What 100. And India came back and won.
Nathan Lyon is bowling better than before.
Nathan Lyon's doing.
If they can find a second spinner to match him, they can be really competitive.
But I want to see how Australia want to get the better of India, having lost to India back there in 2020.
The goodness will be huge.
And that too, not the full strength Indian team.
Not the full strength Indian team, and the final test match was like a B team almost. And many of them are not playing again.
Yeah,
Natarajan is gone, Shardul is gone. I mean, Washington is struggling to make the team. So, frankly speaking,
Natarajan got a test match because there was no one else.
Yes.
India didn't have fast bowlers and they had to play him. He's a limited overs bowler.
Absolutely, Yorker specialist, etc. Yeah, wow, what a team. Maybe that's the way to go for India. Maybe you rest the stars. Maybe there's a message there. Don't play the stars in the big matches. Okay, there's that. There's the Ashes.
The Ashes, the World Cup.
The World Cup.
The 50-over World Cup.
October World Cup. Will Pakistan play?
I think so. I mean, it's
we'll
all
sort
going
that
to
out because that's going to be terrible for us. If they don't play, then what kind of World Cup is that?
And talking of Pakistan, I think the victory that India had at Melbourne, I think that stands out, right? I mean, this year, especially for Virat Kohli to establish his greatness again.
Yeah.
I mean, with all the
talk
around him.
So this has been his reinvention. The second half of this year has been his reinvention.
And I see that.
With 100 in this thing as well. Before that,
100 against Afghanistan. I think even recently the 100 against Bangladesh in the ODI.
And then opening 81 or 82, that was vintage.
Yeah. And those two shots.
Yeah, those two shots. Yeah.
The one down the ground and then the flick behind square.
Which didn't even appear to be six. It was like a single to me.
Yeah.
The way it left the bat and it went all the way.
And that's the toughest.
Aussie grounds, nothing small there.
Oh yeah, and that's I think one of the toughest cauldrons that you can play.
But the good thing is, as we are both Kohli supporters and all, the good thing is that, and you won that. I remember that going back to McEnroe, going back to Mike Tyson, going back to Muhammad Ali, as they are, losing their prime. If you're a big supporter, it's very emotional for you to see them have that last flicker. Go out with pomp and glory and all that. So I'm hoping he has a great year the next year, because I don't know how much more time is left. Both red and white ball. He has a good year next year. Rohit Sharma is my worry, by the way.
Yeah, Rohit Sharma plus...
It's been a year with nothing for him.
Yeah, and plus with those injuries, a bit of bad luck with that, like he got
the
COVID
physique is not holding up, brother. He's carrying weight. Forget the finger injuries. I'm just talking about things like knee and back. You can't have that. Once you have that, there's no coming back. I'm in back pain right now.
You're having back pain.
I shouldn't talk about it. Terrible. Yeah.
But I mean, let's hope he bounces back. And India have got a lot to think about. I think Ishan Kishan getting that double 100.
You cannot touch him.
You have to give him.
He has to play now.
Has to play
right till October. I'm thinking you've made a double century. Okay, Bangladesh, but they're a decent cricket team now. I would say
they
top
beat
top
India
6.
In the
top 6
series,
ODI team. Right? Fair to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good enough in somewhat alien conditions, and you're outscoring batsmen alongside you who are the greatest the world has ever seen. What more can you do?
And the audacity of the knock. I mean, you get there, 210.
Honestly, I think he just got out. He was almost like he was just so overconfident at that point, because he was just hitting everything in sight wherever he wanted to.
And with 15 overs to go, I thought a 300 was possible.
So did he from the press conference.
Because
and he didn't say it like overconfident. He just said it like matter of factly, which was scary.
It is matter of fact. I mean, because
do you believe we're going to live in a time when someone's going to hit 350 overs?
Yeah, I mean, in fact, I won't be surprised, because we saw AB getting 166 of 64 balls. Oof. That day, I was convinced that someday, if AB decides to walk in at number 3, now obviously it's not going to happen, but he walked in with 15 overs to go, played 10 overs out of that and got 160.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we saw that. I thought someday it could be possible if a opening batter gets going.
Rohit Sharma got double centuries every weekend for a little while. I mean, it was that easy for him.
Yeah.
And as close as you can get.
And you look at what he did in those double hundreds. I mean, I think against Australia.
First half slow, and then just another tempo completely. It was always the same.
That's exactly my point, because he got 100.
Yeah.
During his first double century, he got it in the 37th or 38th over.
Can you believe it?
Yeah. When he got 264, he got his 100 in the 32nd or 33rd over.
And he reached 164
and
more.
The third double, he got his 100 in the 42nd over.
Wow.
And the last 7 or 8 overs is when he really...
That's when the ICC should dig up the pitch, or the Shiv Sena. Who does that? I forget now. Okay. All right, we have to wrap it up. Nishad, thank you so much. I'll leave you with one last question. What is your greatest innings
that I've played? That I've played in gully cricket or with the Leatherwork?
That's okay. Just tell us the innings.
Okay, so this was in our inter-batch final.
It.
Yeah, I am in law school. I'm incredibly proud of it. Inter-batch tournament semi-final. Played over 2 days because of a sandstorm in Jodhpur.
Wow.
Yeah, and because our innings got cut and I was the only guy left, and with 2 wickets to spare, we won it in the last over. I scored 40 not out.
And you batted at what position?
Number 3. And
so
wickets falling at the other
your bat.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
40 not out.
40 not out.
264 kuch nahi hai. Thanks, Nishad. Hope to get you back and have a rocking. While we record this, he's going out for the auction. So a lot of pressure on these young shoulders as he goes to represent his state team.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye-bye. Bye.